What is up, everybody? I am RenaMarq, your modern Renaissance content creator, your friendly neighborhood content creator, and welcome back to another episode of Per-Sception. And this time, I have a newcomer, a new fighter in the ring, right? A new fighter in the ring, a newcomer, but that's not to say she is not killing it. She is an amazing streamer, content creator. Messy, talk to me. Messy.
How's it going?
I'm doing good.
I love that new challenger.
You know what I'm saying? Gotta let the people know.
Yeah.
So give a more introduction on yourself. Like, how would you describe yourself in this space, and how would you describe yourself in general?
I don't really know. I think first and foremost, like, I'm a dork. I don't know. I'm someone who is just naturally very curious and has a lot of questions about different things. I have ever since I was a little girl. And so I guess, like, in this space, I've started doing like a new series called Messy Mythology.
Yes.
Where I kind of bring a new subject to I call my community the Den Dwellers, because we're in the Lion's Den.
Love that.
So it's me and the Den Dwellers just learning something new together every week, and it's a fun time. I show a little slideshow. We get a little messy. I take old folklore stories and from ye old English and try to translate it into something more palatable to what we can understand now, and then we usually have really fun discussions and kiki and joke or whatever, so it's fun. Yeah.
Okay, that's dope. Okay, so that's actually one of the best reasons and one of the biggest reasons of why I wanted to talk to you in Per-Sception, because I didn't want it to be, I didn't want people to think like as newcomers, this space can be very intimidating, overwhelming in more ways than one. And the reason of like bringing you on to talk is, I know, with you wanting to, you kind of getting your lane in, and you're really making your lane with Messy Mythology, with playing games, with watching like different things together, and really teaching and educating not only your audience but also y'all learning together. It's like you're not like coming out like preachy or like weird, like you're all coming like you're all learning together, like, and I like that. Because being in your streams and like seeing you do the Messy Mythology, and like people are kind of teaching you certain things and you're teaching them certain things, and even on your socials when you're asking, hey, what do y'all want to learn about today? Do y'all want to learn about centaurs? Do y'all want to learn about why Zeus is an asshole? Like, you know what I'm saying? like you definitely have that full of different sides, and I wanted to really talk to you about, like, how does that feel, kind of being a newcomer in this space, and like, do you feel intimidated? Do you feel overwhelmed? And like, how are you working through that while like building your lane and like making something yours?
Honestly, it depends on the day. It depends on like, as I'm preparing for the next stream, usually like I'll get in my head about it, and then by the time I hit that, start stream button in OBS, that's like everything goes away, because I know that I sat and I prepared to do this, and I'm excited to share the information. And I think that's kind of my biggest thing to hold on to. And also, like, I have streamers that I look up to, and they've all echoed the same thing, which is, kind of focus on yourself as far as what you're creating, because you will get consumed in certain things. And I know you and I have had conversations about it before, when I've said in the very beginning of streaming, like, being more scared to kind of put myself out there, because it's kind of a space where, even though there is enough space for everyone, it doesn't always feel like that. You know, you don't want to be a carbon copy of someone else. You want to be yourself. And the more I went through and started looking and watching back my own content, I was like, all right, well, when am I actually the most happy? Like, what brings me alive on screen when I'm talking to people? And so I remember there was a game that I just kept like rage quitting because I kept failing over and over again. But in between me failing the mission, I remember it was just me and like one person in chat, which I never mind if it's just one person chatting. Like, if you're there hanging out with me, you're there hanging out with me. I love it. But it was me and one chatter, and we were just talking about like a different. I think I was talking about like a social experiment that I had read about, and they had read about it too. So we were having like a full-on conversation about it, and I was coming to life and getting really excited. And I realized, no, I do really like talking about stuff like that. I love having a discourse, or I love learning new things. That's why, like, in my degree, it's a communication degree, but it's heavily based in research studies and research methods. So even though I hate doing homework and writing papers, I love that pursuit of knowledge. And so I was like, if I can use my skills in storytelling and my skills in like kind of disseminating information in a more fun way with others, maybe, you know, I can bring that part of myself to the table and see who shows up and who hangs out and what type of conversations that I can have. And I've been super lucky to have a really awesome community that supports me and, you know, is there for that type of thing.
I love that. I love that. So with that, I wanted to, because I love that you mentioned two things. One, I love that you mentioned kind of making sure you're not a carbon copy. That's one. Actually, a little bit more than two things, because number two, you mentioned how the space is for everybody, but sometimes it doesn't feel like that, right? And I wanna kind of go into the thinking and thoughts of those two. So in order to really feel unique, and I know, you know, you watch people, you're a part of the Twitch community and content creating community, and when did you start to, well, when did that correlation kind of combine for you, where it's like, okay, making sure you're unique, and then kind of like having that light bulb turn on when like you kind of noticed, oh, I'm really happy doing this. Was that, did you have any thinking like before that, where it's like while you were playing the game and you're like, is this me? Like, is this me enough? Right? Before you started to kind of get into what you do now, and before you had these conversations with the people in your chat and recognizing, oh, this is the content that I really like, this is the content that makes me happy. Did you feel like that wasn't the case before that moment?
That's an interesting question. I haven't really thought about it. I don't think so. I think it was more so being in stream, and then, you know, kind of being like joking around with chat and being like, can I tell y'all a story, or do y'all want to hear something wild? And then like people in all caps would be like, yes. And so I'll tell the story, and I'll realize as I'm telling the story and elaborating on things that like the conversation grows and grows and grows. And you know, the next thing I know, I look down and it's been like an hour of me going back and forth with chat, or like if I have something heavy on my mind and it's more like me telling a story rather than, you know, a rant or something like that, which is fine if people do that kind of thing. But if it's that, I feel more calm and I'm not anxious about, you know, what are the viewers thinking? Are they kind of like, oh my God, shut up? Or like, you know, and then another thing that got me into changing to this format is there are sometimes days where, because I've always been a gamer, like I played games ever since before I could read properly at like 4. Uh, but I realize like how much my style of gaming is more of like I love engrossing myself in a story,
Mm.
and it's different when you are trying to unfold and react with other people at the same time, rather than the type of person that I am, like has to pause the game and be like, wait, what? Like, and has to think about it for a second. And I was like, people don't want to watch me like continuously pause the game. So I had to think about just different things that were still, I don't know what it is that made me fall in love with streaming. I think it is just the ability to meet new people and talk about different things you never thought you would. And what made me switch over to this format was watching other people do just chatting streams. Like I was always scared to just sit in front of the camera live and just start talking. I was like, what, how do you know what you're gonna say? And freaking out. So I thought that streaming just me playing a video game and responding to what's happening at the game uh, was kind of my foot in the door, and it was. I mean, but there would be days where I wouldn't really have anything to talk about, or the game would have a mission where all people see is me going like trying to play the game, like because I'm trying to focus. So I was like, no, let me do something that I think I would be excited about. And so I nervously like did research for a day and a half and made a PowerPoint. And I will never forget, like I have one viewer who's like a ride or die on my chat. Every time I see that screen name, I'm like, hi, like I get so hyped for them to be there. And they were like, okay, production. And I was like, all right, okay. So it feels good to like have that within myself, to be like, no, I feel more comfortable when I'm doing this thing. But it's that extra when you've got at least one cheerleader that's telling you like, hey, you're doing something new, I like this,
Right.
so that's what keeps me going. And so I think while it is like a space that can feel overwhelming because people may be doing something similar, or they're maybe doing the same thing or playing the same game, or maybe you're talking about the same subject, it's kind of like you bring a bit of yourself to it that no one else can bring. Like, I'm not saying me doing PowerPoint presentations is like a chef's kiss idea, but it's something that makes me giggle. It's something I like to do, and I bring my own little piece to it every time. So,
I love that. I love that because that very ending piece there is pretty much the exact, I feel like it's the only advice needed to get into this industry. Who cares if everyone is doing it? 1,000
mm-hmm.
people could be doing it, but put you into it, right? And seeing you do that, and hearing you do that, and knowing that people are responding well to it, and with just growing that type of, just kind of growing that type of thought process, right? That type of ideology, to know that, okay, whether or not is 40 million people on this platform, or is whatever the case may be, like no one is messy, right? Like, well, no one is MessyLioness. A lot of people are messy. No, but having that mindset, and so early on, for me, it took me a long time to do that. I still have trouble with that. Like I still vulnerability moment, like I still be like, I feel like 1,000 people are doing the same thing, like of course I'm not gonna go anywhere. Like I still think that, like me, like and it's crazy because of course like people will say like, no, everybody's doing it, but it's like those moments come up and down. So I kind of wanted to ask you, like, having that thought process, do you have more, are you building more of like a plan to continue and like how you want to continue doing this, or are you as of right now just like day by day, let me focus on this and see how it goes, or are you like, I got something here, I brought my position into it, I put my fingerprint on it, and now let me figure out some processes on how to evolve.
I think it is more so the second one. Um, but it's a little column A, little column B. Like,
Yes.
um, I do want to continue putting all these things together. I only do this 1 day a week for that reason, to kind of like, all right, let me put all my energy into 1 day out of the week, of piecing things together, seeing how I can research it. What does my energy feel like?
Mm-hmm.
Monitoring things like that, checking in with my own mental health so I don't get caught into a numbers game. Because switching into going from doing, I used to do like indie games all the time. So doing indie games to switching into just talking content is a drastic switch to do so early on. And so I'm trying to worry more about like, this is a thing that makes me happy to do, and then asking myself, okay, why does this make me more happy to do rather than what I was doing before, and is it more important that I'm doing this, um but I don't really know yet where I want to take Twitch, to be honest. I just know that right now it's a fun hobby. It's a way for me to express myself creatively in a way that I haven't done in a while. um but yeah, learning more stories, learning how to better format, how to better script. Because right now, the way that I script for my PowerPoints, it's a loosely written thing because I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to just read something off to y'all. I would rather
Right.
just, have the facts written out in a bullet format or maybe a sentence or two, and then I run off with it and then feed off the energy of how the chat is feeling, depending on what we're doing. Um, so yeah, it's more of like working on my story formatting and working on making better looking presentations, because right now they're just PowerPoints and I don't have an issue with it. But eventually I do want to, make it look more spectacular, and basically figure out what to do after I've told the story. I think something I've had an issue with lately is I'll tell the story and we're done with it. And sometimes people still want to discuss further. So I'll chat with everybody for a little bit. But then after we're done chatting, I look down and I've only been streaming for an hour and a half. And I'm like, oh, wow, wow. like, um, So yeah, so it's just working on smaller things while focusing on what's doing right, and kind of continuously building upon it. And I think what you brought up was interesting, where you were saying like you have those days where you're like, why do I even like what like what am I doing? I have those
Right.
moments too, but I think it is just like holding on to that feeling of like you're doing it for a reason. Like there's something inside of you that is telling you to do it and to keep going for some reason, whether you immediately know what that is or not. And for me, I don't know what that is, but I don't know.
Me neither. Me neither. Trust me. um, I, I love it. I love what you said, and I want to piggyback off exactly what you said, and because a couple of things peeked out in that answer to me. One, knowing that you have your background in communications, and like you said, even leaning more towards like with research and
Mhm.
things of that nature. So I can easily tell that it seems like you're happier not only with this type of content because you're actually also utilizing your your in real life background, like your in real life background and skills, like you're able to do research and then you're able to communicate, you're able to put on a performance based off what you research, right? And see
Mhm.
how it vibes with your audience, see how it vibes with the chat, and it also kind of helps, have that ping pong session when the chat is saying something and you're saying something and this, that, and the third. And I noticed, like, you seem, every time you talk about um the performance aspect of it, you kind of perk up a bit, which is great, because I recognize something that I wanted to piggyback on, where you said um going from indie gaming to just chatting, right, was a big drastic thing, especially so early on. And I do want to ask about that, because at first, did you, even though it still made you happy, did you like kind of fear the numbers game? Even so, because you made this change pretty early on, right? Like, where, of course, numbers are important, but you were kind of just getting your foot in the door when you made that change, right?
Mhm.
So, like, did numbers matter at all from that indie? Like, did, like, part of the reason why you said it was drastic, was that because of numbers in any way, shape, or form?
Yes and no. I'd be lying if I said I never pay attention to number.
I hate
I'd
that.
be a liar. So I'm not
Right.
even gonna I'm not even gonna pretend like that's where I'm at. Like right now, I try really hard to like I don't know my viewer count. I
Mm,
purposefully shut everything down so that I don't get in my head. And in the very beginning, when I was doing indie games, like if I had chosen a game where maybe I had to do more reading than usual, or, there wasn't really a lot going on, I would see the number drop up and drop down. Or if I got stuck in a certain level, like people would pop in and they would leave, and it would get me like so psyched out. And I was like, okay, let me just shut the number off and see what happens. So then I was at the mercy of, well, what type of game am I playing? And
mm,
I'll admit it, like at the very beginning, if I started playing a game and then a bigger streamer that I admire was playing that game and we were streaming at the same time, like I would automatically be like, man, like no one's going to want to watch me. Like,
I
no one's
got
going
you.
to want to watch me
Yeah.
because this, more well known and in my head, more talented person
Hmm.
is doing this. And it's not really,
Preach,
um,
preach, preach, preach.
the more that I've grown, the more that I'm growing in this space, I'm realizing that like um, them having a larger base than me or being more well known doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. That type of success is also there for me too. So it's, but it's easy to get caught in that like, oh man, shit, like and so I was just like mainly focusing on, if I make this change to doing something that I can be um because in my real life I'm more introverted, so I'm not
Hmm.
as like animated and bubbly all the time as I am when I'm streaming. So I do like that I can show that part of myself when I'm putting on a performance. I mean, either way, whether or not I'm being authentic, which I try to be,
Right.
I'm still more bubbly on screen than I am, in
Right.
real life. So I was like, if I do this and see a little bit more engagement, then I will stick to the switch that I made. And so
Hmm.
when I took a risk and did that little switch and saw that I was getting more engagement and that people were getting more excited about the next upcoming stream, like people started messaging me being like, oh my God, I'm so excited to see that you're talking about this next week. Like, and so that would make me be like, oh wow. And I would see people that do similar things and I would observe what they're doing and I'm like, I like what they're doing. They're doing something slightly different from me, but that doesn't necessarily make me or them better or worse. It's
Right.
just kind of like whose vibe do you gel with? Who do you want to hear the story from type of thing. And so that kind of let me let it go a little bit. Uh, Even though sometimes I do in the back of my mind think to myself like uh when I do scroll over and what is it, in Streamlabs, like their little chat bot, and you see the list of viewers, and I look at that and I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna leave if I say something stupid. And so uh, I just have to shake it off and just try to stay in the moment as best I can, to kind of just keep it pushing and to do what, like I keep saying, to do what makes me happiest in that moment. So I hope that answers your question.
That answers my question perfectly, and that also proves you are a 10 times better person than I am, because I can't do it. I can't do that. I cannot do it. I freak out about everything. I envy people that can turn that viewer count off. I can't do it. Like, I tried,
Mhm.
and I kid you not, because I'm not, it's crazy because I don't feel that I'm numbers driven. Of course, numbers are important, and
Mhm.
because of like goals and stuff of that nature. But I remember when I turned my viewer count off and I did a stream with the viewer count off, I freaked out. Like, I started sweating. I got a big ass forehead, so you see it.
Mhm.
Like, 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 like if I start sweating on this forehead, that shit look like a rain. Like, so I was like, wait, cause like it was freaking me out not knowing how many people, and like when
Mhm.
people say they turn the view, I'm like, y'all are the luckiest people on earth, because like,
Yeah.
and it's not that I want to focus on that. I guess I don't know. I guess it's, what the bet, and this is gonna go into my question, but because this question is to piggyback with yours, well, this answer to piggyback with yours. I feel like it's a weird justification. Like, it's like right there, right? It's like an instant gratification form of justification, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like, okay, cool, I can look over and see, okay, cool, 10 people in the chat, great. And even if it drops down to eight people in the chat, great. Like, see, that's my thing. I don't care about the number. I just need to
Mhm.
see it. Because to me, it's like instant gratification. It's like, you know what it's like? It's like ordering a package, right? And you ever like
Yeah.
order a package and it just says like no delivery date set, and you're just sitting there
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
mm. But then like
Mhm.
even when you see the date, it could be 3 weeks out, but at least you see the date. That's
Yeah,
how I
yeah.
am. So to ask you, because you're a better person than I, to ask you, like, seeing that you on, like, hearing on how you balance that thought, right? In previous, a couple of answers ago, you talked about mental health. how how does that affect your mental health, like after stream, during stream, like knowing that you kind of have that balance, like you can recognize something's important but not put importance on it, which
Mhm.
is fantastic. Like, so in this industry, knowing that like you were able to get over the, if a bigger streamer is playing something as you, or if somebody is doing the same as you, but they're not, but you're recognizing that, hey, if they want to come to your vibe, they will. I still freak out about that. Like, I hate it. So like, how does that like work within your mental health?
Um, well, I'm gonna like chop up my answer a little
Yeah,
bit.
please,
So
please.
like for the to go back to what we were talking about with like viewer count, I think because when I first started like streaming directly from my rest in peace, my now broken PS4 to Twitch. And so like I remember if the viewer count got above 3, I would freak out. Like I felt like I had to perform, or like I had to put on something, or like I had to do more, be more, because more eyes were watching. And so once I shut that off, like that was myself saying, okay, let me just let me just do the thing and see what happens. And then when the stream summary comes in at the end of the stream, I'll see where my numbers were at, rather than like freaking out or feeling like I have to act a certain way to keep a number. in a certain position. And so like I had to kick myself out of that early on, like within the first, I think 6 months of me streaming. I was like, I'm not going to look at the number anymore. I'll just look at the stream summary, because if I keep looking at it, I will freak out either way. So it's more of like knowing yourself, knowing how you handle it. Like, what is it about seeing that number? Like for you, you said it was like the instant gratification, or like that feeling of like a package is coming and you know at least the window of when it'll be there. So that gives you comfort and just knowing, you know, what's going on. But for me, if I am seeing that number, I'm like, okay, I have to do something different, and it'll psych me out. But as far as like my mental health and trying not to get upset when it comes to bigger streamers or feeling like I'm in a competition with them, I don't know. I've been honestly like watching a lot of content, or reading a lot of like the streamers that I admire in these different spaces. Like you have Jay from Black Girl Gamers, you have X Mirror Mirror from Noir, you have amazing and, you know, personable streamers like Story Mode Bay, you have Chaotic Bunny TV, you know, you have streamers like yourself. So paying more attention to kind of like how whether it's how they feel or not, when they're speaking about things, especially like in the Twitter space for streamer Twitter, it's listening to them basically repeat the very true thing, which is like you shouldn't be in a competition with another streamer. Like if you entered this space because you want to compete with others like that, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know unless you're doing like an Apex competition or something like that. I don't know what to tell you if you're trying to, you know. And so the more I listen to them say that, the more I'm like, no, you're right. Like everybody has like a little piece of something, and it works better, especially as minority creators, if we create a larger community that out there. My desk didn't want to hear it. Damn.
That's like no.
It's like, oh, you're trying to take a speech. Not me embarrassing myself. Basically, like we build a community rather than trying to compete. Or something I love, especially now that, you know, we're showing up, people that look like us from the Twitch space are showing up in mainstream media, is the notion of opening up doors for others. So it's kind of like confirmation for me that like, no, I do belong in this space. I am being more of an addition more than, you know, a toxic subtraction by trying to fight against other people. It's like, no, I can be in this space, and you know, if we're playing the same game at the same time, we're two different people. You know, sometimes you want to see someone else play the same game, or you'll watch two people play the same thing at once. It's really up to the viewer at the end of the day. Yeah, and I think I watched like what is it? I watched like a Vice interview of, I forgot what the streamer's name is, but she was like at the height of the discourse of like dude bros on Twitch being upset that like women are taking away their views because they're titty streamers or whatever. And she had made a really good point of like, no, if they wanted to watch you play that game, they would search you. They would search for you because they know that you stream and they know that you're doing it. But they're searching for me for a different reason. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that they're in the mood for something else. It doesn't make me stealing your views. And like the more I listen to those type of discourses, the more I kind of apply it to myself. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like, and I also think about me as a viewer. Like, why am I choosing one streamer over the other? It's not that I like one more than the other. It's just that one may be doing something particular on that day that I want to watch more than the other one. And I'll pop into the other one to say hi, but then I'll go somewhere else. You know, it's not anything personal. It's just viewership, I guess.
I like that. No, I get that entirely, because that's the that's pretty much the hands all, right? Like that's pretty much the
Hmm.
hands all of this actual field, of this actual industry. And to take note, you mentioned different discourses, and I want to get into community. I do want to get into community and how important it is to be a part of other communities, big, small, however, doesn't matter. And how do you like take pieces, and how do you learn how to build your own community while also kind of being unique to yourself? Because you know even with you saying earlier, you're much more introverted, and as introverted people, like, that is hard to build a community around yourself, right?
Hmm.
So like, do you have different thoughts or different takes, or is there like things you try to do to alleviate the pressure of building a community? Not really, I don't want to say centered around you, but building your community, and how do you take what you may learn or what you may observe in other communities to help?
A good question.
I try.
I don't. It's weird. Like it really is weird. I think the first Twitch community, aside from Black Girl Gamers, like I mentioned before, a lot of like the discords and like Twitch communities that I had seen in the very beginning of my understanding and interactions with Twitch were so overwhelming. They're like thousands of members in a Discord server, and like every Discord channel has like unread messages, and I was like, oh my god. So I never felt like I could wedge myself in.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until I ran into the Bay Brigade,
I
I
need
think the very
Auntie Boy
first,
stand up.
like, what'd you say? Auntie
Auntie
Boys,
Boy stand
get
up.
out of here. Oh my God. uh, but no, that was like, I hung out in SMB's stream one day, and just I made a joke about something, and I forgot who. I can't even remember who responded to it, but it was me, and then I felt included in the chat. And from feeling included in the chat, I felt really comfortable to join the Discord. So I stayed until the end of the stream. She gave her, join the Discord if you wanna hang out. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. I'll say hello. And I said hi in the chat, and people recognized my screen name, and started joking around with me, and it felt very authentic and very real. And I think um, I'm really lucky that that's my first kind of interaction with an off stream community, because uh I mean, I'll be a billboard for the Bay Brigade. It's a cool place. I
It
mean,
really is.
all the real ones hang out in
That's
there.
facts. That's
No,
facts.
yeah, yeah, it is. It's where I've met, I always used to feel dorky when I would say, yeah, I have friends that I met on the internet. But no, like, I genuinely can say, oh, Mark is my friend, or oh, like, even though we clown on Joe is cool. Uh, it
It's my
feels
boy.
comfortable. Yeah. Or being in your chat is also the same thing. And I think how it informs me building my own kind of community. One, I am trying to genuinely be as inclusive as possible. I want everybody to feel like they can comfortably come kick it, and just, we can learn something together. We can be dorks. We can do whatever. That's why I call it the den, because it's like you're coming over to a friend's house and you're sitting in their living room and you're just listening to something together. So I wanted kind of my chat to do the same thing, and to make people feel as welcomed as I feel in other like streamers that I admire's chats. So I feel really lucky to have that. I have some crossover from those communities that I mentioned before, so it kind of already was built in. But I have a friend that I know in real life. I didn't realize that she had followed me on Twitch, but she had told me, that she wasn't originally planning on making an account or talking until she saw like how goofy the den dwellers were and how weird we were being together. And then she said that she liked how she was immediately accepted by the group. Like nobody made her feel left out or different, or she said something funny and she got tagged in the funny comment that she made. And so she was like, I love that. I love that you can do that. I love that, you know, the community can have different ranges of what we're doing. If we get into a serious moment, it's being taken seriously versus like everybody knows and understands the assignment when it comes to we can joke about this, we cannot joke about that. And I think part of it is due with me like trying to build those boundaries, and another part of it is me I guess covertly networking, because before I started streaming I was part of these communities. So it was like once someone from the community found out that I was streaming, they're like, hey, like trying to get everybody to come in. But I don't know if I'm going to build my own Discord server yet. I think that's still daunting to me to kind of build up that whole thing. I think right now I'll just stick to the spaces where I'm at and respect that as the other streamer space, not really talking about my stuff, and then use Twitter to network, but to also to gauge like, hey, what do y'all want to learn about? These are 3 subjects that have been heavy on my mind. Which of the 3 sound best to you? And then, you know, deliver what I say I'm going to deliver, show up when I say I'm going to show up, and go from there. Like just at least show that I am trying to be as authentic as a person on the internet can try to be, you know? So
I like that. I like that answer a lot. And I wanna piggyback on that because you mentioned some important things. knowing the the difference of how you want to network. And also, by the way, shout out to your Twitch etiquette is perfect, because a lot of people do not have Twitch etiquette like that. But knowing the different ways you want to network and how you want to network is really important, because I think nowadays, because people have done it, I don't know if the answer is, I don't know if the right word is wrong. Because is there a wrong way to network? I think so. I personally think so. There could be. But you know, people nowadays in content creating, streaming, music, whatever, like if it's something where like other communities or other people need to be involved, like networking has become such a taboo thing, right? That like a lot of people is like, don't network because you're gonna come off annoying, or if you really want to make friends, you just make friends, and then if they want to work with you or they want to check out your content, they will, and stuff like that. But like network is still pretty essential in order to grow, and knowing the different ways on how you want to do that is something that I picked up on that you said that's actually really important. And with that, like I wanted to kind of ask you, like, how do you plan on knowing when to change that? And I know that that may not be something that can be answered right now, because of course that could be when you get bigger, or if you want to get bigger, or if you want to take it out of a hobby, if you don't want to take it out of a hobby. But there's still different ways on evolving that. And like, do you think about different ways of evolving that? Like, you know, trying to network outside of, you know, not as far as like Discord, because you kind of answered that, but like, you know, is there certain different other groups, not as far as like content creator groups, but like, is there other ways that you may want to kind of bring people in? Like, do you want to bring people in that you meet from your communication and research aspect of your life, things like that?
I haven't really thought that much into it. I think even in like the streamer space and the content creation space, I still feel kind of awkward with that. Like I follow like I follow some streamers that are like slightly larger than me, and so to be followed back by them, I'm like, oh my god, I like, do I ask them questions? Can I reach out to them to ask them questions? Kind of like freaking out because I don't know if me retweeting something from them or showing or rating them or showing up to their stream or doing something like that will make it seem like I'm trying to get something reciprocated, because it's like it's like a tightrope. Like you want to show support for other streamers in a networking type of way, but you don't know, or at least I don't know as a newcomer, like how to um really be in their spaces in that way, which I think is why part of the reason why I'm so good about like Twitch etiquette is because it means a lot. It comes from a place of respect, but it also is like I don't want to F this up, so I would rather just be on my P's and Q's, like goof around, ha ha ha,
Word.
like he and ha ha in somebody's chat as like a viewer rather than like showing up as like a streamer trying to network. I think one of the biggest networking opportunities I got to have was last year. What was it? Last year during Stream Off Twitch, they had like a day off Twitch day, and I had a day out of class that day, and I wasn't working that day, so everything like aligned, and I hung out and got to know people that way. And then it wasn't until towards the end that it was like a hey, link your channel if you want to, and I linked my channel there, and that's when I got the most growth. But that was from me just not saying anything about being a streamer, just kind of hanging out and being myself in a space and getting to know people. And then at the very end, when they saw that, that's when I got more attention. And so I'm trying to figure out right now how to network, because right now I do it in like a slow and steady kind of way until I feel comfortable enough to go to like in-person cons and things like that. But for now, I don't know how to best do it. I don't have an answer for that.
No, that's the answer. That's perfect. That's perfect. And we're getting down to the last 10 minutes. So I do want to shift gears and let's
Okay.
talk creativity. Like your creativity. I do want to ask the idea of messy mythology. Like explain that and explain like why mythology and like why you wanted to get into that and why was that the starting subject of your change.
I think it stems from, so me and my younger sister back when I was no so me and my younger sister, we are 13 years apart, so I spent like 13 years of my life being an only child basically. And so as an only child, like once you're home and you're no longer at like a friend's house or something, you have to entertain yourself. And like I was such an inquisitive little girl. Like I would sit around with my mom, and my mom would watch Food Network and all these different types of documentaries and stuff like that. And I would sit down with her, and I remember like I would ask her a million questions about the world and everything. And like, so we were watching The Mummy, and it freaked me out. One, because I guess a 2000 CGI was just hitting, and two, just because I was seeing things that I had never seen before. And my mother, like both my parents were in the military, and they were very well traveled, and so we had like I think my mom still has it, but it's like a hieroglyphics alphabet and papyrus. And so I would point at them and ask her, like, what do they mean? And she didn't exactly know. And so she bought me like an Egyptology book for like little children, and I soaked it up and became super obsessed with like learning about the different Egyptologists, like excursions, and when they go inside of a pyramid, what happens there, and then asking questions about, okay, well, why do they have certain, gods written on their tombs? What does this mean? What does that mean? And learning more about mythology as time went on and as I grew up would make me really happy and excited.
Right.
And I initially thought about doing stuff like not necessarily true crime, because true crime is like a gray area that makes me kind of uncomfortable.
I feel that.
Especially for the victim's family. There's like an ethical thing that makes me feel,
Yeah. Nah, I'm with you on that.
And so I had thought about either doing like, with my communications degree, I'm just a nerd when it comes to sociology too. And I thought about maybe, talking about like how cults are formed or talking about stuff like that. And then I was like, nah, I'm just going to take it back to that little 9-year-old girl with her big giant Egyptology book who's super excited to find a page and show her mom like what she had learned that day and see if 28-year-old her can do the same thing but to random adults on the internet and see how they take it. And it was received very well. And then it came another question. Like, I made an offhand comment about a minotaur, and somebody in all caps was like, can we do a Minnow talk next week? And I was like, hell yeah, we can do it. And I learned more than I thought I would learn about it. And then it kind of snowballed. I would say something offhand, or we would make a joke, or somebody in the chat with their knowledge would bring up something and we would have a conversation, and then it would spark something in my mind that I would have a question about, and it'd start a poll to ask people, these are the 3 things that I've been thinking about. What do you want to learn next week? And, whichever one gets the highest vote, I research and present it. And it's like a rinse and repeat type thing that I just love doing. And I don't know where the idea of like me starting the mythology came from. It was just more so like, what made me happy when I was younger to do all the time. And it was kind of that, because that's what got me into streaming in the first place. Is another thing I would do aside from read a lot when I was little was I used to host these like one woman radio shows as if I had like a podcast. I don't know what an 8-year-old was talking about, but I had like a podcast as if I was like talking about something. I don't know, with my little Barbie mixtape thing. So yeah, I kind of combine those, and now this is what I do.
I like that. That's dope. Messy's broadcast. I fucks with it. I fucks with that. Hey. I like that. That's dope. That's actually dope. So I like that you were able to create your uniqueness and put your fingerprint into something based off of like the younger you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's honestly why a lot of people got into Twitch. I feel like you feel like every answer is always, I've been playing games my whole life, so I'm honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, I just decided to get a $3,000 PC and play games like that. And it's like, all right. So like that's such a big answer. That's such a big answer. And I like how like no matter what the lane is, everybody kind of pulls from their younger selves and like what kind of made them happy back then. And to continue that, like, how do you see that coming and growing in like in the future? Like, are you looking to do more type of topics outside of mythology? Are you looking to like go past mythology? Are you looking to go deeper into certain aspects of mythology? Like how do you want to evolve that?
I don't really know. I think I did kind of step out of the realm of hitting myself on my
Again. Yeah, that's awesome.
Let me redo the start of my answer. My bad.
Got you.
But no, like I don't know. I kind of stepped out of the realm of doing mythology type stuff because this past week for Black History Month, I did like a whole watered down history on like black hair in America and how, it went from different tribes in the continent of Africa, the slave trade, and then where we are today, kind of. And I had a lot of fun doing it. And so I'm still paranoid about the sounding like a teacher giving a lecture
right
kind of thing.
Right.
that's what I'm trying to toe the line in between. I think the next subject somebody asked me to talk about is unicorns, and I
That's
don't mind
awesome.
talking about it.
That's awesome.
So I'm down to talk about whatever. I think the only like hard no that I have is I don't feel comfortable talking about like true crime, and I
Hmm.
don't feel comfortable talking about like internet drama. I don't like, even though my moniker on the internet is MessyLioness, I am not about that. I'm not
I feel
about,
you. I feel you.
I love messy TV. I don't like the mess in people's actual life. So but yeah, I'm down to talk about whatever I'm able to research and kind of, make fun and just kind of chill with my community with, I think.
That's dope. That's dope because that gives you that kind of, not that you had one, but like that kind of like breaks the ceiling, right? Because like I always wondered, like as a variety streamer, like I do a lot of different video games,
Hmm.
and even sometimes like when I do like my franchise plays, like sometimes I'll be like, all right, like how many more of this game of this, how many more games in this series I got, because I kind of feel limited, right? Where it's
Right, yeah.
like, okay, like all right, because like I did Resident Evil 1 to Resident Evil 8. A solid 6 months was Resident Evil, and I was like, I gotta get out of this. I gotta get out of this.
Yeah.
Like, and but to flip that for you, and based off of, to piggyback off your answer, where it's like you don't mind talking about pretty much anything other than reasonably the two things like true crime and actual messiness and stuff like that. Um, that kind of like breaks your glass ceiling. Not that you technically had one. That's not really what I'm saying, but it
Mhm.
kind of gives you the openness to really delve into any type of topic that you may want to go into. So I'm gonna put you on the spot here. 5 topics other than mythology. What you got? Give it to me.
Five
Yeah.
topics.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I told you it's on the spot.
Oh my god. No, I think I touched on some of them earlier. I do still
Hmm.
want to talk about like cults in more of like a, not really like a Charles Manson blah blah blah, but like in a because I am like very much a sociology and psychology nerd. So I have that verbiage to kind of explain a a cult phenomenon from those perspectives rather than from more of like how the media explains certain things.
Right.
But like I said, I don't want to sound like a teacher, but I would love to do that. I wanted to do video essays on that, but I don't know anything about video production anymore. So I would love to do that. Other than history again, I
Okay.
think doing the history was fun. It was a lot of fun to learn about certain things.
Okay.
You said 5?
Five. I said five. Yep.
Oh
On the
damn,
on
dog.
the spot.
I don't know. There's a creator that I see who does like, what does he do? Like he does a lot of animal facts, but they're like animals that I didn't even know existed thanks to him.
I
So
know
he'll
you're
talk
talking
about
about.
those. He
That dude's
cracks me
funny.
up,
That dude is
but
hilarious.
so I guess that dang.
Yeah.
Um, Something about like the seven world wonders, like where do they come from? Is it aliens
Ooh,
that built those things? Like what is
that's
happening?
fire.
And aliens, yeah,
Okay,
aliens.
that's fire.
Yeah.
I'm in there for that.
Like
I'm in there for
abduction
all of them, but
stories.
I'm in there
Yeah.
for. But that fourth one, you're gonna have to let me know when you do that because I want to be in there. I always wanted to know about that, but I'm too lazy to research it myself, so I'm gonna have you do
Do it.
it. But no, yeah, that's it. That's it. But no,
Hey.
um, to end, of course, everything will be in the description below. But tell people where they can find you, when they can find you, and like anything you want to say at the end before it gets all wrapped up.
You can basically find me at MessyLioness both on Twitter and both on Twitch. I basically stream. I try to stream every Wednesday night at 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. So that's when you can catch me. Typically in the very beginning, in the first like hour and a half is when I tell my story and I chat with my chat. And then for the next other half, we watch something random together. So if you want to watch something goofy and tacky like Divorce Court, we got you. If you want to watch random animated horror shorts where we joke about how dumb people are in horror movies, acting as if we're going to be big and bad ourselves, you can be there for that too. Twitter, like I've mentioned before, is the place where you can see me post a mediocre meme. I show support and love for other streamers out there. And also, it's where I post a poll for what we're going to do in the next stream. And that's about it. Y'all can catch me around Discord sometimes. I be floating. I be everywhere, you know?
All right. And y'all,
You put me on the spot. I can't.
did.
I'm awkward.
I did. I had to. No, you did perfectly. No awkwardness at all. You did amazing. You did amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining the Per-Sception
Thanks
episode.
for having me. I appreciate
it. Of course. Come on now. And everybody, thank y'all for tuning into this episode of Per-Sception. Like I said before, all of MessyLioness links will be in the description below. And I check y'all out. So please make sure to support MessyLioness. Make sure y'all give her all the love, all the respect, and all the support. And that is it. Y'all know I'm about to end it. I am RenaMarq, your modern Renaissance content creator, your friendly neighborhood content creator. Peace.